Like I said, you'll know if you're right inside. You'll know, you'll feel it. People see it. It'll leak from you. The happiness, the love, that essence will leak from you. It'll pour out all over people. Like I said, whatever it may be. If it's negative, if it's positive, it's going to show. So, each individual psychology is different. So, each individual's, the amount of time that it takes for person A to achieve a goal and person B to achieve a goal will always be different. So with that, due to their psychology, right, due to their psychology and their upbringing, the way they perceive life, so those play a factor into how long it takes an individual to achieve a goal, all right, or to break a habit, or to develop a habit, right? It's each three of those things, the way the human psychology is, which leads them to the way they perceive things, and what's the defining factor, what's their why as to why they want to achieve those goals or a said goal. All right, each individual will always be different. So that's why each individual from child to adult learns differently. You could get a group of individuals and they all learn the same way, they're hands-on, right? Or you get a group of individuals that rather just go do mental work, and that's the way they calculate things better in their mind versus hands-on. Now that you can do, you know, though they would still accomplish their goals at a different rate. All right. So that's the whole thing here, is the development of inner self, preparing the mind to achieve that which you want most. And do not be discouraged when you see someone, whether a friend or a family, who has, or even a stranger who has something you don't have, though you wish you did. Do not feel discouraged, or if they're the same age, the same gender, whatever, do not feel discouraged. Each individual is different, and you may feel and think that you may want that, but it's really maybe not even that which you want, but you needed to trick yourself into believing that's what you wanted, and that guided you towards what you really deserve in life. And we all deserve what we put work towards. The prepping of one's mind is always the longest part. All right? That's why they say people who are successful on TV out of nowhere, it didn't just happen out of nowhere. It took years and years for them to cultivate themselves, to acquire those habits that helped them, that led them to that success, or to those successes, to whatever successes that we see, or whatever successes that they've achieved. All right? It took years and years. All right? So, do not be discouraged. Think of it as a chef. When a chef prepares an elegant meal, or a 3-course meal, or just one plate of food, right? Just one plate of food. It took him time to prep that before that existed. That one plate, that beautiful specimen of food that's going to get devoured. It took that chef time to prep that meal. It took more time for him to prep it than than when he actually just cooked it. Pretty much, probably that's the majority of entrees. It took more time to rinse the vegetables, cut the vegetables, gather the right seasoning, let it sit, let it simmer, you know what I'm saying, and then if you notice, then they start with the meat, and then they start cooking that meat, and bam, it's done, and then it's put together, and this is what you have to eat. Beautiful plate of food. Fuck it up. Nah, but so yeah, it took time. Everything takes time. Everything takes time. Prep will always take time. Prep is usually the longest part of any process, especially developing the mind. Especially developing the mind for that which you want most in life. For that which you want most. I love that saying. For that which you want most in life. For that which you want most in life. The preparation of the mind will always take more time. Right? Due to the fact, though, because we've been prescribed and molded with so many bad habits. You know, we have to come to grips with the reality of our situation or the issues we find ourselves in, and do not lie to ourselves anymore, and really realize that in order for us to change these situations or change these issues, we have to go in here always. We have to go in here. This will lead you to other places. As long as you're growing this, you will start realizing and understanding life for what it is. The more you go in here, the more you teach this, the more you grow this. I just mentioned this to a friend that for most human adults, they believe that when they reach a certain age, that growth does not need to occur no more. That they're an adult. Now, some may be like, yeah, I'm still learning. Though, that's cool, that's good. Though, the whole thing about this human existence is that whether you're 1 year old, 5 months, 5 years old, 20 years old, 25 years old, 35, 55, 75, we are all still children learning life. Period. So, if you're able to understand that, after crawling is walking, after walking is running, but after you master the physical aspect of this existence, this takes a lifelong quest. This takes observation. So we start here. We all always have to start somewhere. And so like I said, before I could acquire anything in my future, what I wish to acquire in my mentality, my goals, before I can acquire any of those goals in the future, I have to now start prepping. And even if they're even greater, I already had to have started back then, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, prepping the mind for what it is that I want most in life. Because each task, each goal will require more of you. The greater the task, the greater the goal. So, whatever it may be, whether small or little, you have to start now. If you've already started, if you've already accomplished so much where you're at in life, and you know you're on the right track, man, man, nah, bro, man, though, like I know, and many people know, it's not over. We have so far to go as human beings. We have so much to learn as human beings. And like I said, you'll know if you're right inside. You'll know, you'll feel it. People see it. It'll leak from you. The happiness, the love, that essence will leak from you. It'll pour out all over people. Like I said, whatever it may be. If it's negative, if it's positive, It's going to show. So, what's the point of living negative? It's not. There's no point in living negative. We all deserve to be happy, free here, just free to be whatever it is we may be in a positive, productive, prosperous life. Once the individual starts getting correct psychologically, everything else about them starts falling into place. Spiritual, it all starts falling into place due to one's belief system. And the belief system starts right here. And once you start developing your belief system, you start feeling it internally, not mental. You start feeling it spiritually, soulfully, and you just know that there's just something about you that is great. There's just something about life that is more than what it is that we were taught to believe, that this is what life is. There's way much more to life than just what we're taught. What we're taught. It's not just you, it's me, it's every human being. We're all being fed some stuff. So that's basically what it comes down to, is preparing your mind. Prepare your mind for what you want. And that is writing your goals down, knowing what your goals are. And before you start achieving your goals, you have to develop the habits to achieve those goals. Since we have one life, right? Since we have one life, you want to know that the goals that you're setting out are meaningful, right? They're meaningful enough to go for, especially if they're great goals, long-term goals, and they're like, you know that they're going to be life-changing goals for not just you, but the other person, or the other people, the other humans who, whatever goal you may have that might help other human beings. So preparing the mind for success. You have to keep it motivated. You have to keep it inspired. And the way you keep it inspired is by constantly doing things in your why in life. Constantly moving, momentum. If you have a studio, apartment, or a house, it doesn't matter. Due to the fact that if you have a little efficiency, it doesn't, like you can set up your living area, efficiency, studio, apartment, house, condo, duplex, or you live out of a storage like I once did. You situate your surroundings in areas that you're constantly working in your why. If you have a workout area, you have a yoga area, you have an area where you write, you have an area of your laptop, your computer where you're editing software, where you're whatever you may be doing in the technology area. You have a place to read your book. You have a place. Everything you have situated to where you have a place. If you're doing YouTube, you have a spot. Well, that's what I noticed about YouTubers. They have a situated spot. The majority of them have a situated spot to where they can just go and record. Press start, press record, and start recording their message and what they want to get across. All this comes down to is preparing your mind for your future successes in life. And like I said, motivated and inspired is something you have to constantly be feeding your mentality in order especially to keep a positive mentality. All right? A positive mentality, we'll talk about that on another one. But this video just consists of understanding that you have to prepare your mind for what you want in life. That is a must. You have to prepare your mind. You have to constantly keep creating it and seeing that picture in your head. You have to constantly keep creating and see that picture ahead and feel what you will feel when you finally get that which you want. That plays a major significance in your attainment of those goals. Major significant. That's a major key. Major key to success. Alright, so you thought I was going to say I digress, right? I got you. No, but so preparing the mind for that which you want most in life. And once again, because break it down real quick, all it is just breaking bad habits, forming new habits. You're preparing the mind, right? Breaking bad habits, forming new habits. Preparing your mind for future successes. It's like people are capable of quitting smoking. How it starts out, and this is just, it's all preparing the mind. How it starts out is the person says they're going to stop smoking, and bam, they stop smoking. Whether it's a day, 3 days, or a week, bam. And then what happens, they probably go back to smoking after a few days or after a week. They start smoking, they probably continue smoking for a few more months, probably a year or whatever. Hopefully just for a few months, and then they realize again, their family and friends bring it to them, they realize again, you should stop smoking. And that person's like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to stop smoking. And then they try it again, and bam, it lasts 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks to stop smoking. That person had that's a success. Even the 1 or 2 days, 3 days, that was a success. Any amount of time where the person's not smoking, that's a success in my eyes, in my opinion. Because I know the way the cycle goes. And it's the same cycle for a lot of things, whether a diet, working out, quitting a habit, stopping a drug addiction. Like I said, we're just using smoking for example. So they stop for 3 weeks, and then guess what happens? They probably go back to smoking again, right? And it's happened to many of my friends and family. So, and then they continue smoking. It probably only lasted a few weeks, or probably lasted a few months. But now they're getting to a point where they're like, okay, and then somebody again pushes them and nudges them, and they'd be like, man, you should stop smoking. Especially if they're older, and you can already, and they're coughing, and they're already at that point to where it's really affecting them. I mean, any type of cigarette smoke affects somebody, whether it's secondhand or first hand, right? I mean, so any type of smoke damages the body. So they start smoking again. They were off for 3 months. They lasted 3 months or 3 weeks, and then they start again. So then that time they lasted, man, like 5 months, right? And then something happened, and then they went back to smoking again. Though everything that happened prior, they stopped, they started, they stopped, they started. All that did was prepare the mind to know, and it's pulling out the bad habits, it's breaking them little by little, stopping the electricity, stopping the currents, breaking those connections in the brain, and it's struggling to develop new habits. They're struggling to develop the habit of not smoking. Because if you have a habit of smoking, you have to develop the habit of not smoking before you get into just a regular old flow of life where it's not you don't even need the habit to not smoke or do a drug. It's just you've developed into that person to where you don't do those things anymore. And like I said, it goes with a lot of things in life. So now they, you know what I'm saying, and then bam, they probably smoke. After they lasted for 5 months without smoking, they've prepared the mind, and they know that they could last this long, they could last this long, and they last to 5 point. And then that person probably smokes a week, and they're like, why am I doing this? And then like, you know what, I'm just gonna stop. And eventually, after that last time, and they realize, bam, they stop for years, for years. And even if they go, if they last not smoking for a year, 2 years, and they eventually they had a few drinks, and they're like, man, give me a cigarette, and they smoke. And they might enjoy it because they missed it that much. The body has missed the chemical that much. The next day they wake up, they're going to be like, why did I even smoke? It's not a habit no more. You know, and it's just a natural thing not to smoke. So the mind recognizes this. And just like the mind recognizes, is one preparing themselves for the future successes. And that's all this is. So I'll leave you with that. Like I said, man, comment, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button if this helped you in any way, form, or fashion, man. Like I said, so get at me in the comments, and I don't know, what should be my outro? Should I have an outro? So Should I rap for my outro? I'm gonna record another video after this. I'm just gonna change my shirt. I got that from Video Creators. He just changes his shirt and he records videos in his chocolates. No way, he's barefooted. I probably don't even have no pants on. I'm in my fucking chones. No, I'll just say I don't have my chones. And Mia's been sucking me in!
It's never going to give it to you a silver platter. It's never going to be a perfect ideal situation for you to start your course or run your action. Today is the day. Today could be the only day. Stop. Safety, comfort zones are dead zones because your true potential will never be matched. As the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient training, so the man of weak thoughts can make them strong by exercising himself in right thinking. My own life. My book, my pen, I write every page the way I want it to be written.
Boom!
You wish to learn from the master? Well then, here's what you got to do. You first got to put the heavy stuff in the bag, then you put the light stuff, like such as bread.
Like, comment, share. So yeah, like, comment, share. Do what you do.